Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to Texx Talks. I am Texx, and today I am talking to a South African musical treasure. She is a singer, an actress, a speaker, and an agent for social change. But above all, she is a storyteller who, at the end of 2019, in a glorious send-off concert at Kirstenbosch Gardens in Cape Town, hung up her vocal reins as the frontwoman and lead singer of the world-renowned Pan-African group Freshlyground, and has now reinvented herself through her solo show, which she debuted as well at the end of 2019. 2019 was a very busy year for her, called The One Who Sings. I am, of course, talking about the one and only Zolani Mahola, who quite literally is the one who sings.
Yeah.
Zolani, I'm so incredibly excited that you could join me here at STFD Studios in Woodstock, Cape Town.
But first, we need to mention our awesome studio sponsors for this season.
STFD Studio, a world-class recording facility opened by local music specialists, Sit the Folk Down. Their services range from audio and post-production work to mixing and mastering and everything else audio-related. Get in touch with them at studio@stfd.co.za for all your recording and music-related needs. Mixroom Studios is a boutique, electronic music-focused mixing and mastering studio. And if you're making cool electronic music, you probably need your beats to be polished. So hit Mixroom Studio up at info@mixroomstudios.com for more info. How are you? How has 2020 been treating you?
2020's been really good so far. As you say, I love how you said that, hung up my reins, the reins. Yeah, so it's been here, I've realized an incredible amount of shifts and changes in my life. I was with Freshlyground for 17 years. We were together. So there's quite a big space that has opened up in my life, and it's a bit scary, but it's also very exciting.
I can imagine. So, I mean, you said 17 years with Freshlyground. So your career has been so rich and so fruitful. I think it's going to make for a fascinating autobiography one day, which I can't wait to read.
Well, but maybe she's writing a book.
Oh, am I Nostradamus?
Yes.
Maybe. But I think we should start at the beginning.
Great.
So it's 2004, and you're riding on a successful wave of your debut album with Jika Jika, and then you release this track called Doobie Doo, right? And things just explode. And I remember being instantly hooked from the opening melody that's now like so iconic. I mean, I think I'd probably like
the first line of the first vocal line.
Yes.
Did you hear the news on the radio today? My God, I was so little.
That line. I mean, I'd probably go so far to say that there are not many South Africans that don't know that line.
Not below a certain age.
Let's not give away our age here, though. But did you have any idea that track, that would be the track that would launch your career?
No, we had no idea. In fact, we didn't want to put that track on our album because we thought it was too commercial and it didn't sound like us. And then 17 years later, that is the song that people define us by.
So what was the ultimate deciding factor that got that song on the album?
I think it was our producers. Victor Masondo and JB Arthur. Very, very experienced and incredible musicians and producers in their own right. So they said, no, this is a song. You should put the song on the album. And glad we listened to them. All
these years down the line, how do you feel about that track now?
Sure. I've had a complicated relationship with it. I have. Right now, I feel like I want to put it a little bit aside. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm very, very happy because it is a song that really encapsulated joy, and a song that really has connected people of very disparate walks and has given people hope and connection in our country here. So on the one hand, I feel so incredibly proud to have been a part of that song. And then on the other hand, I feel like I want to just, as I say, give it a little bit of a break for a while, and explore other sounds and explore, other ways of being, than that wonderful deep joy. Yeah.
One of the things that I think stands out for me about that track and that you did so well was, I think it was one of the second or third lines. You say, politicians have agreed to honor and obey, right? And 15 years later, that's not necessarily the case. And I like how you weren't afraid to tackle the issues and to speak about things that musicians weren't speaking about.
Well, it's interesting because I think because the song seems so sweet, I think people could miss that, and there's a lot of, particularly in the Xhosa lyrics of the rest of the songs as I've written, there's a lot of social commentary and there's a lot of quite pointed talk to the powers that be, to really do what we want them, what we have mandated them to do, which is to serve us. Lots of those themes, particularly in the Xhosa Doobie-Doo, is one of the outliers, I think, in terms of English. But even in that, so it was quite couched in like a really sweet melody, and I think it was quite an interesting subversive thing. People are sort of ingesting this music, and but there's always something that goes down below the surface.
But obviously that theme that occurs in that track lyrically, it's not a once-off.
Sure.
I mean, Banana Republic.
Very overt.
Very self-explanatory. But one of my favorites, Chicken to Change.
Yeah.
Which you did in collaboration with ZA News and Zapiro, with a very striking music video where Zapiro does this caricature of Robert Mugabe.
Yeah.
And I mean, around the time, I read an article, the band was deported from Zimbabwe.
Yeah, funny story. So I was with we were all traveling as the team, and I had my firstborn, and he was small. He was like 2. And we get to passport control, we get there, and they look and they say, "Oh, Freshlyground, oh, you VIPs." And they take us, they herd us to the side, and they said, "We'll show you how we treat VIPs." And we waited for about 45 minutes, and then they came back. They were very jolly, very, very jolly. My 2-year-old is just like playing around out there, and they say, access denied or whatever it was. And we turned around and we got back on the plane, back to South Africa. And then we went back in Zim for a while until the death of Robert Mugabe.
That's an incredible story. I feel like with all the political turmoil that's going on in the moment, not in South Africa but worldwide, I feel like it's chaotic currently. Do you think that in this country specifically, there are enough artists that talk about things that really matter? I know not everybody can be overtly political, but I feel that there's a gap for artists in this country to talk more about issues that matter. If it's, from the corruption or the Me Too movement, or the sort of state of violence that we have against women and children going on in this country. Do you feel like artists should step up a bit more musically?
I think that artists should do that if they are drawn to. I think that to write a song to be politically, vocal, is a mistake. I think that any artist needs to respond authentically, and that's the only way that really you're going to be heard. So even for myself now, I don't feel any pressure to write songs that are socio-politically, resonant. I want to respond. I want to respond to what naturally comes. That said, the artists are the voice of the people, and I think the role of the artist is to keep ourselves open. I think a lot of the time what happens is that we feel like we have to stay in our lane, and I think our lane has been quite trivialized. The artists have a role in society. They are part of the society. They are there to reflect what's going on. They're there to respond, but it has to be authentic.
So what would you say to people who look at musicians and say, you're entertainers, stay in your lane,
right,
like what you said?
Right.
What would your response be to something like that?
I've heard that over the years. I've heard that from my peers. They haven't said that as a direct comment to me, but they have said things like, they want to stay out of it. They just want to entertain. They feel like they want to leave politicking to the politicians. I disagree. I disagree. I think that we have a duty to talk about the things that affect us, but again, it's gotta hit you, and then you gotta put it out. For a lot of us, it's hitting us, but we're too scared, or we are just not interested, in putting it back out there.
One of the things that I love specifically about your decision to include Chicken to Change in your Radio Africa album, which obviously you released in 2010, and you did it at a time when the eyes of the world were on you, obviously, because you had recorded the theme song for the 2010 World Cup. Like, the eyes were on,
right,
were on you, were on South Africa,
country,
was on the continent, was on everything.
Yeah.
What are some of your fondest memories when you think back about being included in such a prolific global event like the World Cup?
Yeah. No, that was quite something.
Just a small little.
That was quite something. Talk about being catapulted into the world stage. By that stage we had been going for 8 years, but certainly that was our biggest sort of global success, being a part of that song with Shakira. You spoke a little bit about my play at the beginning, at the top of this podcast, The One Who Sings, and I speak a little bit about this, about the Waka Waka time. And something that I think will surprise a lot of people is that, it was in so many ways the pinnacle of my and the band's career. But I internally was feeling terrible. I was at my lowest. I was, I've never been a thin person, except when I was maybe like 7.
Join the club.
But, but I was at my biggest weight that I've ever been. And this is certainly not to say anything against weight, but that heaviness was a reflection of what was going on internally. And what was going on internally is that I was responding to the world from a place of being very disempowered. So, and I was engaging in very addictive, compulsive, destructive behaviors.
Around the time of the
World Cup. So I was emotionally and spiritually in quite a low place at the same time as being, in my career, I was in a very elevated space. So my memories of the World Cup time are, I'm ambivalent. I have two extremes, very high and very low.
It's a mixed bag.
It's a very mixed bag. Yeah, I was drinking drinking was one of the ways that I had been using to sort of cope with being myself in this world, or trying to avoid being myself.
So it wasn't necessarily like this newfound pressure or fame or anything. It was just you coping with identity.
It was very much internal, and it happened to coincide with this very public event. Yeah. So what I explore in my play are the roots where that behavior came from, of where overeating, alcohol addiction. I go back and I investigate my own story. The One Who Sings is an autobiographical piece. And
book coming soon.
And one of the things that happened to spur on this behavior was sexual abuse by my stepbrother when I was 9, between the ages of 9 and 12. So what I did to sort of not deal with this scenario is that I just went avoid. I just went like do anything to distance myself from myself. So that went into things like watching a whole lot of TV, reading voraciously. I was incredibly voracious. I would steal books from the library for the weekend because 5 books or 6 books wasn't enough, but I'd bring them back, at the end of the weekend. And eating became a form of escape. Later on, it became things like alcohol, etc. And so this is one of the things that I explored in my play.
So how has sharing your personal story affected you? Because listening to you now, it sounds like it's been incredibly cathartic for you.
Yeah.
And that it's helped you deal with some things that maybe you've repressed.
It's been really amazing, I feel like through looking at my own story and looking at maybe reasons why I behave in certain ways, and then deciding consciously that I don't want that to be a part of my life anymore, that journey has led me to an owning of my own story, and a feeling of being in myself that is greater than I've had in a very, 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 very long time. Possibly maybe from back when, before all of this, when I was a little child, So just, it's been an incredible way of feeling like I'm moving towards becoming more whole.
And
yeah,
obviously sharing a story that's so deeply personal on stage to
yes,
different people every night.
Yes.
Can be very inspiring, very empowering for someone who's sitting in the audience.
I got incredible letters from people. I mean, I say letters, obviously emails from people.
You say letters as your fingers are moving.
Got a lot of incredible, emails from people. One person was a woman who had brought her young daughter to come and see the show, and she said, "Thank you so much for going so deep and being so open, and to say that a lot of the things that I talked about or that I showed in the play were things that she didn't know how, she hadn't known previously how to talk to her child about, and how it was such an incredible bonding experience for them." And I remembered this little girl. She was like 7 or 8, sort of the age that I was when my mother passed away, and then and then the abuse started, so it was incredible then connecting with this woman, hearing how she had bonded with her child over the material in the play.
So you've positioned yourself not only as a singer and an actress and all of the multiple things that you've done over the years, but also as a motivational speaker. So I wanted to know, for someone who hasn't attended any of your talks or hasn't heard you speak apart from your solo show, what are some of the topics that you address? What are some of the things that you're passionate about talking about?
There's really one central theme, and it doesn't matter if I'm talking to kids or if I'm talking to a corporate or if I'm talking to, a group of women. The central thing is being a curiosity about your own story, is encouraging us to be curious about our own stories, to really consciously be able to be in the world. It's motivational speaking is such a blah term. I really hate it, actually. I want to change that. I'm changing it to inspiration speaker.
Inspiration speaker. I'm not gonna lie, I like that much more.
It's so much nicer, man. It's like move from a place of being being inspired to change, being inspired to say, okay, this is not working in my life. Why? What are the beliefs that have led to this moment? What are the beliefs that have led me to this crisis, however big or however small? And do I still resonate with all of these old stories of myself, me against the world?
Because now that you mention that, the word motivational, it's kind of got a connotation attached to it that like makes you seem like you're lazy, you know, and that you need someone to light a fire under your ass because you're just sitting on the couch doing nothing, for example.
Yeah.
Inspiration's more like inspirational. That's coming from you. You're the one that's sparked something inside of you.
Which is totally correct. You are the driving force. In a lot of ways, I chose to identify myself as the victim of my life. You know, my life was happening to me, as opposed to saying, actually, damn, man, I am incredibly talented, which I am.
Damn straight you
know,
are.
It took me a long time to be able to like say that without feeling like, geez, you're tooting your own horn, you know? And I mean, it's just the stuff that we say to ourselves.
Do you not think that we're conditioned as women to not necessarily put ourselves first? And like,
I do think so.
And there's a degree, like what you just said now, where you didn't think you were worthy, and
spot on.
It took you a long time to say, I am talented, this is me, I can sing, I can act, I can create music, I am an artist, I can tell a story. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that like we feel like we're not worthy as women because we put ourselves second or third.
Big time. And that's just generational. You know, but I feel like that is something that actively we are as women in the world, you know, changing. But it's in there. It's deep in there.
It's entrenched. But I think
entrenched.
I think that you, with your solo show and with your project as an inspirational speaker going forward, I think that you are poised to do incredible things. I really think that you are. And tell stories that are relevant to this age and to what people and women our age are going through at the moment. Because this country it's a melting pot. It's changing every day. It's, you know, it's beautiful, but then there are also some darker sides.
Big time.
That and things that go unsaid and things that go unaddressed.
100%.
Yeah.
No, I feel that it's certainly not only the women of our country, you know, who feel disempowered, who feel ill at ease, you know, who feel like they I don't know. I speak to so many boys, and I go to a lot of schools, you know, and I feel like boys are also told, you know, are also shut down, and also are, I mean, certainly in different brackets are slightly different, you know. I mean, you know, if you go to Sea Point School, it's going to be different than in Khayelitsha. But for the majority of the kids in this country, the system of how we address kids and how we mold them, how we grow them, is still so disempowering. And that is something that, for me, I would love to address. You know, it happens in childhood. All of this stuff happens in childhood. In my play, in my talks, I talk about my stepmother, who was incredibly disempowering. You know, she would say things like, you know, don't act like you're better. You know, like don't think you're worth it. Don't think you're all that. You know what I mean? And that, all of those messages, whether it's as overt as that or not, boys and girls in this country are getting that every single day.
The last time I saw you was at the launch of the Bridges for Music School in Langa, where you spoke very briefly and then you performed 2 songs. And everything that you just said now about, you know, going into different areas and, you know, talking and engaging with the students. That's what you did there. And that was such a special opening to be a part of and to be privy to, because I think that what Trenton and the team are doing there is absolutely incredible. And they've gone into a place that didn't have anything like that, and they've created this beautiful state-of-the-art tertiary education institution.
I'm so full bridges for music.
No, it's absolutely insane, and I think that your presence there and what you said and the song that you sang to bless the place before it officially opened was so beautiful and so poignant for those kids. And if they can look at you and see, this is where I've come from, this is my story,
yes,
Freshlyground, and now I'm here,
yes,
and I'm embarking on this new journey,
yes,
you can do it too.
Oh, hundreds. You just gave me chills.
I'm here all week, folks.
Nice.
But Zolani, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me in studio today. It's at the Folk Dance Studios in Woodstock.
I love it here.
It's the best.
Off the hook.
Also, can we talk about the big carpet outside called Zeus?
Zeus is big, man. Zeus is major.
I don't know how you feel about dogs, but anybody that knows me knows that I'm completely obsessed with dogs. So I might move into the studio when I'm in Cape Town now, just so I can give Zeus little scratches on his little belly. So cute. But Zolani, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
And I cannot wait to see what is next.
Well, let me tell you what's next.
Oh, okay. So Zolani, tell me, going forward, what is your vision for your solo project? And also, what is the next chapter in your journey that is yet to be written?
My vision for my next chapter is to tell stories. Whether I tell these stories in music, or if I tell them in plays, or if I tell them through talks. I just want to tell stories, and some of them mine, and some of them just ones that I've come across. And there is a story that I recorded called Waundi Tembisile, that I'm releasing round about now, and it's a beautiful story, but a very heartbreaking story about placing your trust in false gods and being disappointed. Centrally, it's about rediscovering your own power. I love this song because it's a journey. You know, for me, it feels like something like a mini Bohemian Rhapsody, because it goes through so many emotions. So people must definitely check out my latest track.
That sounds absolutely incredible.
It's
I can't
beautiful.
wait.
It's
I
really
cannot
beautiful.
wait to hear it. As soon as you said mini Bohemian Rhapsody, I was like, hooked.
It's a journey through sound.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I can't wait to check it out.
Here is a thing with nothing to say. Mountains won't stand in your way. You like to walk as if troubles are behind you. They'll never find you as long as you hide. Oh, do you miss the rain? Standing with forehead on window pane. Come out, bring us your shame. We won't leave you lonely. We'll call you by name. You with the sun dripping over your face. Nobody knows where you be. Your arms open wide, greeting strangers like family. Nobody knows all the places you've sinned. Why you miss the rain? Standing with forehead on window pane. Come out, bring us your shame. We won't let you flounder. We'll call you by name. Oh, how I love all the places that shine in you. Let me dine in you and displace myself, sinking into intertwined. Let me forget what binds me to sit inside of you and forsake myself. La 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 la. Here is the thing that I've wanted to say. Darkness won't stand in your way. You hold me now as if nothing will ever break all that flowers here in your heart. There I go again, bleeding and beating on window pane, crying. Out here is my shame. Don't leave me here lonely. I've called you by name. There is no sound when the rivers stop flowing. It's only hope that turns bread into wine. I have no words when the winter floods out of you. Never once did I think you would cry.
Shout out to Zolani Mahola for joining us in studio. Thanks for joining us for another Texx Talks. Check out texxinthecity.com for more episodes. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and listen to Texx Talks on all good streaming platforms. From myself, Texx, our producers, Jonathan Ings and Matt Lutz, and our assistant researcher and collaborator, Al Clapper. Catch y'all on the flip side.